Ladies and gentlemen, the Titans have finally done it. It took some time. It took a 1-5 start to the season. And after becoming the laughingstock, and we thought last week's game against the Arizona Cardinals, that win kind of pushed it back a little bit. But after losing to the Las Vegas Raiders, a dumpster fire of a team, the Tennessee Titans have decided to fire head coach Brian Callahan. And it comes at about 12:51 p.m. I actually pushed a video out, and 1 minute later, this was announced. So we deleted that video, and we had to get it to you guys ASAP. 12:51 p.m., according to Adam Schefter, the man himself, and then the Titans, they tweeted out that they have parted ways with Brian Callahan. But this was a given. This is what that we thought was going to happen. And I'll get into why I thought it happened specifically today rather than next week or the week after in just a second. But this is why you subscribe to the channel. When breaking Titans news hits, doesn't matter what it is, when it's something big like this one right here, we make a video. So that's why you subscribe to Titans Today. Hit that sub button to stay up to date with everything Titans news. Here's your full quote from President of Football Operations, Chad Brinker, and on why he fired or what his statement was. And after extended conversations with our owner, Amy Adams Strunk, and general manager Mike Borgonzi, we met with Callahan this morning to tell him we are making a change at head coach. These decisions are never easy, and they become more difficult when they involve people of great character. We are grateful for Brian's investment with the Titans and the Tennessee community during his tenure as head coach. We thank him and his family for being exemplary ambassadors of the Tennessee Titans. While we are committed to a patient and strategic plan to build a sustainable winning football program, we have not demonstrated sufficient growth. Our players, fans, and community deserves a football team that achieves a standard we are not currently meeting. And we are committed to making the hard decisions necessary to reach and maintain that standards. And I've made countless videos of firing Brian Callahan after how bad the team was, and this needed to happen. And it's kind of funny how this happened at this time. So the Titans, they weren't at home for the last 3 weeks. And we know that with the fans at Nissan Stadium, they were chanting "Fire Brian Callahan" over and over and over and over and over. The Titans were the laughingstock of the NFL. We saw multiple times before, over and over and over, how they wanted him gone. And I don't personally think that Amy Adams Strunk and Chad Brinker were going to let Brian Callahan come back to Nissan Stadium as the head coach of the Titans. And it's also one thing, they play the New England Patriots next week. The Tennessee Titans fired Mike Vrabel, who is now the head coach of the New England Patriots, and they are 4-2. I do not think that they were going to let Mike Vrabel come into their own building and beat the living shit out of him. They were not going to let him literally take down his replacement and have a complete disaster of a game. They said, we're not going to let it happen. We're going to move forward because obviously they already had thoughts of firing Brian Callahan in the back of their heads. And also just how bad of a team they were. They were like, with Callahan as the head coach, who's supposed to be this offensive genius. We know that he has been with Matthew Stafford. He's worked with Peyton Manning. He was with the Bengals when they went to the Super Bowl, working with Joe Burrow. But through 6 games of the season, they had 83 points. It was their fewest through 6 games since 1985. 1985. They weren't even throwing the ball back in 1985. And if you look at the statistics for the last 6 weeks of the season, it's bad. And I just talked about in the video that I had to delete. I said it's time to fire Brian Callahan. 232 yards per game, which is dead last in the NFL. 150 yards per game, second to last. Rushing yards, second to last. The points per game, how are you barely even averaging? I don't think they're averaging a touchdown. Cam Ward only has 3 touchdowns in 6 games. 3 touchdown passes. And then your third down conversion. Once you get to third down, it was pretty much over. It's pretty much over for that drive. You're going on defense. And the defense is fine. I talked about many times how I think Jeffrey Simmons is a decoy. But this starts firing Brian Callahan. It starts the rebuild process, the full rebuild process of this entire team. And it was granted. I think it was time. It was time to go. And you were going to get embarrassed next Sunday. And that was going to be Another reason why to fire Brian Callahan, but they did it before the New England Patriots and Mike Vrabel came to town. I'll ask you guys, though, what's your one-word reaction to Brian Callahan getting fired? One word. Let me know down in the comments section. I think the one word that if I had to give, granted, he should have been fired. He should have been fired before the season even started. And I've talked about it on this channel before, how he should have been, they were thinking about firing him. And they said, you know what? Since we have the first overall pick, we'll let him go another time. Well, you brought in a new general manager who didn't hire Brian Callahan. He did not hire him. It was time to go in another direction. They should have did it before the season started, but now you're doing it 7 weeks into the NFL season. Coming up, we got more details on firing Brian Callahan, how he lost the locker room, what this means going forward for the Titans, and what this means for Cam Ward. But first, I got to tell you about our sponsor of today's show, and that is PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. You can now follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit that follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. I have a lineup for tonight's games, and it's a doubleheader. I like Bijan Robinson, the more on rush attempts, 15.5, but give me the less on Keon Coleman and receiving yards at 39.5. And then the other game that's going on, the rematch of the Hail Mary from last year. Give me the more on Caleb Williams to throw an interception and the more on Bill Krosky-Merritt to score a touchdown. You can make a lineup just like that one when you download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right. Another thing that we kind of have to talk about is like the players gave up. It was, if you don't want to talk about the performance on the field, talk about the locker room on what Brian Callahan did. It felt like you saw a couple weeks ago how Michael Pittman of the Indianapolis Colts said, it felt like they came out and didn't even want to play. And that was like week 3 of the NFL season. Now we're in week 6, and you just had a win. And this is what Jeffrey Simmons had to say just right after the game yesterday and how bad they practiced. He said to be able to carry that momentum over, talking about the win at Arizona. It started at practice. And if I'm being honest, this was one of the worst weeks of practices. Come out flat Thursday and things like that. Sometimes things carry over. In this league, you have to prove it every week and reprove it. How do you have a bad week of practice after a win? You should be high. You should be on that vibe of, oh, we got to win. We can get this going. And then you have one of the worst weeks of practices. That revolves around the head coach. That starts with the head coach. And not to mention about how you lost the locker room, he's completely ruining Cam Ward. I still will back Cam Ward to the day because I was a huge fan of his at the University of Miami. I'm a big Miami guy, and he looked great. But you could see throughout these first couple weeks of the season, Cam Ward's losing his confidence out there. 55% completion percentage, 1,100 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a 67.3 QB rating. It's not good. It's awful. And I think it revolves around the offensive line. Brian Callahan gave up the play calling to Bo Hardegree, and it didn't do much. Like, sure, he said he gave it up. He was forced. We all know he was forced, and that was the start of him getting fired. But I'll say it again. You had to do it before next week, or else you were going to get embarrassed in front of your old head coach and his replacement. And Amy Adams-Strunk was not having that. Because you go up against the New England Patriots, and Drake May looks like a top 10 quarterback in the league. And right now, the Titans look like a rebuilding team. And I know, because if I was Mike Vrabel, I don't think I should have been fired in the first place. And now you're going to your former team. You want to put it in their face how much they regret. And do you regret firing Mike Vrabel? Maybe a little. Maybe it was the right time to move into a different direction. But Brian Callahan obviously wasn't the answer, and now you're so many far steps back. We don't know who the interim head coach will be yet. It has not been announced, but when it is announced, we will get you guys the answer. There's a couple of replacements. There's a couple of options out on the table right now. Paul Kaharski, who is the main Titans beat reporter. If you think about who reports on the Titans, Paul Kaharski is the first guy you think of. And you have special teams coordinator John Vassell. You have defensive coordinator Dennard Wilson. Or the guy that has head coaching experience before, senior offensive assistant Mike McCoy. I personally think it should be Mike McCoy or John Vassell. We'll see what happens. Obviously, they have to announce it before Sunday's game. Was this the right move, firing Brian Callahan? Do you think that he should have stayed as head coach? I know some of you probably think so, but I'm on the path, as you saw with this channel through the past couple weeks, that I was on the move of, hey, they need to get rid of him and move in a different direction. That's going to do it for today's episode. That's why you subscribe to the channel. We bring you up-to-date Titans news. I think this will go out less than an hour after Brian Callahan gets fired. So that's why you subscribe to the channel. And as always, tighten up.